Good morning, everyone, and welcome to eLearning Forum Asia 2020. This is Tilly, your MC today from the School of Journalism and Communication of the Chinese University of Hong Kong.
And this is Monica, your MC today, also from the School of Journalism and Communication of the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Thank you all for taking the time to join us in this meaningful event, which is quite special this year compared to previous years.
This year marks our 15th eLearning Forum Asia event, hosted by the Center for Learning Enhancement and Research of the Chinese University of Hong Kong. The conference theme for this year is Enhance Teaching and Learning with Technology, Present and Future.
That's right. The mission of ELVA is to advance the application of information technology in teaching and learning with special emphasis on the opportunities and challenges faced by institutions in Asia. Tilly, do you have any idea why our event is so special this year?
Yes, this year is super special because it is our first ever virtual forum and it is free for anyone to attend. Like previous years, we have prepared lots of programs. We are going to have 84 oral presentations and 18 poster presentations with presenters from Asia's educational community and other parts of the world. Also, there will be 3 keynote sessions, 3 plenary sessions, and 2 panel discussions. And at the end of the second day, we will have an Alpha 2020 awards presentation and closing ceremony, in which we will announce the results to the winners. I can't wait to join the sessions.
Me too. For the morning sessions, we will have one keynote speech by Dr. Greg Winslet from University of Queensland and one plenary speech by Dr. Toru Iyoshi from Kyoto University. And in the afternoon, a series of parallel talks will take over the virtual meeting rooms. And there will also be a panel discussion with experts from several universities on the topic from Band-Aid to sustainable transformation.
We would like to thank our working partners at CUHK, Information Technology Services Center, ITSC, and the Center for eLearning and Technology, ELITE. And we would also like to introduce all sponsors for our event. First of all, we have Platinum sponsor Blackboard, Kaltura, and EasySoft. Gold sponsor IntelliBoard, OpenLMS. Silver sponsor Respondus, Class for Zoom, and media sponsor eLearn.
Sponsor sessions are arranged for participants to learn more about the latest technologies in enhancing teaching and learning. You may also meet our sponsors in their respective virtual meeting rooms. The access links can be found on the sponsor page on our conference platform.
We are honored to have Professor Rocky Tuan, the Vice Chancellor of CUHK, to deliver a welcoming speech for eLearning Forum Asia 2020.
Good morning, Dr. Tan, distinguished speakers and guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to all of you for joining the eLearning Forum Asia 2020. I would like to start by wishing you and your family good health and safety in these difficult times. I also wish to express my gratitude to the eLearning Forum Asia for inviting CUHK to host this meaningful annual event for the Asian academic community. As we all know, all of us are in the middle of a crisis like no other. COVID-19 has affected billions of students around the world. In the beginning, the education sector was caught off guard. We had no choice but to find immediate solutions, and the most logical choice was e-learning. Like many other universities, CUHK made rapid and successful transitions from face-to-face to online learning using video conferencing tools, initially mostly of the off-the-shelf variety. Within a few weeks, teachers and students acquired new skills quickly for the new normal of education. Diligent teachers developed or exploited various kinds of digital resources and the most advanced visual technologies to enable immersive learning for students who are off-site or at home. As time went on, numerous new teaching approaches that we had never thought of before were developed, tested, and experimented with, modified, improved, employed, and adopted. As the old saying goes, Every threat is an opportunity. Or, as Winston Churchill famously said, never let a good crisis go to waste. There's no denying that COVID-19 is terrible, but it also motivates us to do things differently and spur innovation. I can proudly say that the adaptability, creativity, and commitment demonstrated by the teaching community in this crisis were truly remarkable. While we witness gratifying results from the teaching innovations in the past few months, there are, however, challenges to overcome. Firstly, we have to deal with the widening digital divide. The success of online learning is based on the assumption that learners have access to reliable internet connection, necessary gadgets, and a suitable learning environment at home. This assumption is not always valid, even in developed regions of the world. So, what measures should we take? And what technology should we use to ensure equal learning opportunities for everyone? Secondly, there were pedagogical challenges. It was difficult to keep students focused and engaged without a teacher's physical presence and eye-to-eye contact. Online learning is also hard to put into practice for courses relying heavily on hands-on work. Not to mention the additional challenges faced by students with special education needs. Lastly, we should not neglect the emotional and psychological impact the pandemic has had on students. The anxiety for the unknown, the necessity to adapt to the new learning mode, and the lack of interaction certainly have affected students' motivation and learning progress. Solving these challenges requires connected efforts by teachers, researchers, technology companies, policymakers, and other practitioners in the field. That is what Alpha is all about. Over the past 15 years, Alpha has developed itself as one of the major platforms in the Asian regions, where educators from all over the world come together to discuss major challenges and exciting innovations in education. Let us work together as a global community to turn this crisis into opportunities for growth and development. While I know my assignment this morning is to give a welcoming speech, I do want to take a minute to share with you some personal thoughts. All through this tumultuous period, I've been constantly reminded of the famous and very popular story of the Wonderful Wizard of Oz by the American novelist Lyman Frank Baum, which of course was turned into the movie classic Wizard of Oz, starring Judy Garland. The main character, the teenager Dorothy, played by Judy Garland, was suddenly swept up by a tornado that broke down her house in the middle of the night and took her from her comfortable home in Kansas to the unknown land of Oz. Many things then happened on her way along the yellow brick road to find the wizard, who supposedly would be able to get her back home, i.e. the old normal. To me, the most memorable are the three characters, or friends, whom she encountered. The Scarecrow, who wants a brain, the Tin Man, who seeks a heart, and the Cowardly Lion, who desires courage. Well, I will not tell you the whole story, because that will definitely take up more than the 5 minutes I've been given for my welcoming speech. I just want to say, the things sought after by the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion, namely brain, heart, and courage, are the exact ingredients that will carry us through our journey on the yellow brick road of the pandemic. Just like Dorothy, we are quite lost. But I'm sure that once we reach the end, again, just like Dorothy, we will find out that the solution is in fact always within us, and the new normal will be something that is formed and shaped by our brain, heart, and courage. Thank you very much for indulging me in my storytelling. I hope all of you enjoy the event and have a fruitful and productive meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Tan, for sharing such an insightful and engaging story with us. May we now invite Professor Alan Chan, the Provost of CUHK, to deliver a welcoming speech. Professor Chan, please.
Thank you very much, Monica and Tilly. Good morning, everyone. I'm very delighted to be able to join you at the opening of ELF Asia 2020. As I think Monica has already mentioned, this is the 15th edition of the event, previously held in Hong Kong, in Taiwan, mainland China, and also Singapore, my previous home. We are very happy that we are able to bring Alpha back to Hong Kong. The Vice Chancellor has already given a long introduction, so I will not detain you for very long. But I do want to say this. I mean, obviously, the rapid advances of technology is making a huge impact on technology, especially to this audience. I don't think I need to belabor the point. For one thing, the students who are entering university today, and especially those who will be joining us in the future, they will be truly digital natives. It's me who's seriously digitally challenged who needs to catch up. But this is really not just about technology. Technology remains a very powerful tool, but what we are interested in remains the desired learning outcomes. I've been thinking about the three often interchangeably used phrases: technology-enabled learning, technology-assisted learning, and technology-enhanced learning. In some instances, for example, for people in distant communities who may not have access to educational resources, technology does enable learning. For most of us, I would imagine, definitely technology has been a wonderful assistance, has given us wonderful assistance. But I'm really glad to see that the theme of this year's Alpha meeting is about enhancing teaching and learning with technology. I don't think it is just a matter of using electronic platforms versus meeting with students face to face, especially if we think in terms of the content of what we would like to share with our students, not only in terms of our domain knowledge, not only in terms of particular areas of understanding, learning, but also about enhancing their reasoning skills, especially ethical reasoning, cultural sensitivity, emotional intelligence. So these are the issues that we have been thinking about a lot at CUHK. How does or how can technology help us to achieve these educational goals as well? So I look forward to attending some of the sessions. I'm really pleased to see that Dr. Greg Winslet from the University of Queensland, Dr. Toru Iyoshi from Kyoto University, my good friend Professor Erwin King from CUHK itself, and Professor Earl Lim from NUS, where I spent many years previously. And last but not least, Professor Rosemary Luckin will be sharing their insight with us. Over the next 2 days, I understand that there will be over 100 presentations together with a poster session tomorrow. So it is certainly going to be a feast for thought. Once again, Welcome to the 2020 edition of Alpha. Welcome, albeit virtually, to CUHK. And I wish everyone a very productive and enjoyable conference ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Chan. Next, may we invite Dr. Daniel Tan, the chair of Alpha, to say a few words. Dr. Tan, please.
So thank you once again, for the warm welcome by our host, the Chinese University of Hong Kong. First of all, I'd like to welcome everybody to this event. It's our 15th edition. And I'd like to congratulate our colleagues and friend, Professor Prof. Lam, his team from CLEAR, and the leadership and colleagues from CUHK for putting up a great event in spite of all the challenges brought about by the global pandemic. This e-learning journey has been one of the most unusual, yet most interesting one in our long journey and history to promote the practice of e-learning in Asia. This is our 15th year, and in spite of all the challenges that we have been able to break new records. Today, we are pleased to say that we have over 1,000 registered participants which have come together to join us. This is our 15th year, and we are very pleased with this achievement. I think one of the questions that we have is, how do you respond? It looks like somebody turned off all the lights. And in the middle of COVID, we have experienced a sense of uncertainty, fear, and trepidation. Yet, as Professor Rocky Tan has mentioned just now, we were able to respond and adapt. And a lot of the changes, as we look into the landscape in the global world, is brought about not by the CEO or the CTO, or sometimes even the leadership in institution, but it was brought about by this new role, somebody called the Chief Officer, Valence in Digitization. Valence as encouraged. In short, COVID. And thanks to this person, we have been able to bring changes that were once we deemed as impossible, difficult, or even challenging. Today, we see it happening in a very short time to bring transformation to our landscape, to our campuses, to our classroom. Somebody once asked, what do we do when all around us is darkness, where we are uncertain? I'd like to share a story of how a captain on a ship navigate into the dangerous harbor in a port in Italy. He said that the way to do it, in spite of all the darkness on a moonless night with rocks and cliff on the side and danger beneath the waters, what he has done is to align his ship to 3 beacons of light. And once the lights are aligned, he will then just proceed straight in, and by so doing, he has the confidence that he will reach the harbor safely. And this morning, I'd like to pose it. Potentially, what are these 3 beacons that during this time of uncertainty that we may have, so that we may reach harbor safely for the benefits of our students, our communities, for our campuses, and for the industry who will be employees of our graduates. The first beacon, if I may venture, will be to look at learning quality. COVID has transformed the home into an office for the adults and a classroom for our children. And without the face-to-face interaction that we have expected in the common environment, the focus has now shifted and include learning quality in addition to content quality and teaching quality. And by so doing, we'll be able to truly move into what we call true centered, learner-centered environment, where our learners are co-creators and they are also self-directed. The second beacon that will help us to align is to perhaps relook at assessment. Current methods of assessment has assumed a runway of consecutive, sustained interaction of our students and the teacher in a classroom. That has changed. And because of that shift in the goalpost, if you like, the way we assess must also be reconsidered. With students now working from home and less direct supervision, we need to think of new ways whereby we are able for students to be assessed in their learning, as well as for them to become self-aware on how well they are doing. And by so doing, we are able to measure correctly what is important, the learning outcomes that has been mentioned earlier in the opening addresses, as well as to make sure that our students will be ready for jobs of the future. The last beacon, which I find is something that we often overlook, is to consider and to be aware that we need to develop our people, especially our teachers, our faculty, who are now plunged into an environment where it is totally uncertain and unknown. And with the need to look at learning quality and new learning assessments, we cannot assume that everybody would know how and what to do. And so with these 3 beacons in mind, we'll be able to together move our campuses, our community of practice, and our colleagues, so that ultimately, when all this is done well, our students will benefit, and when they join the industry, they'll be future ready. Last but not least, and as we come towards the end of the year, I'd like to wish everybody a happy new year, and may 2021 bring us more delight and enlightenment as we face the year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tan. May we also invite Professor Paul Lam, the chair of ALVA 2020, to say a few words. Professor Lam, please.
Good morning, our honorable guests, speakers, and participants of ALVA 2020. I have the great honor to be the chair of ALVA this year, and that our university can be the host of the event despite this difficult time of the pandemic. Of course, thank you very much, ALVA, for entrusting us with this responsibility. But it is also because of the difficult time that we need a conference like this for sharing and exchanging. We need this more than ever. And thanks to all your support, as our provosts have mentioned, we have over 100 sharing opportunities in the coming 2 days. I am certain that we will learn many new ideas, new strategies that will be important for the whole education community. On behalf of the ALVA 2020 Organizing Committee, we welcome you all again, and we wish you enjoy the conference and find the conference useful and fruitful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Lam. Now, we would like to invite all our officiating guests and keynote and plenary speakers to stay for a Zoom group photo. Let us introduce our honorable officiating guests. First of all, we have Professor Alan K.L. Chan, Provost of CUHK.
Professor Poon-Wai Yin, Pro-Vice Chancellor of CUHK.
Professor Cecilia Chun, Director of CLEAR, CUHK.
Dr. Daniel Tan, Chair of ALVA.
Professor Paul Lam, Chair of ALVA 2020 Organizing Committee.
Members of Organizing Committee of ALVA, Professor Chatwin Chan, Mr. Chai Seng Lee, Professor An Chi Liu, Dr. Patrachat Komokiti, and Dr. Eva Wong.
And also our keynote and plenary speakers, Dr. Greg Winslet, Professor Irwin King, and Dr. Toru Ayoshi. Please turn on your cameras and our staff will help us take the group photo. I will count down to 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's have one more photo. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you, everyone. You may now turn off your camera.